going live. And just as I feared, I cannot flip the camera. Let's see. Come on, flip. God, I hate technology. Going on my channel to see this thing. See, there you guys are on YouTube. Sorry, I'm using this app on my phone that I used way back when I did a live stream in Seattle, and now the feature that flips the camera is not working, and I've tried everything. I've tried restarting the phone, I've tried uninstalling the app and reinstalling the app, I've tried, removing permissions and granting permissions. I've tried everything, and this thing will not flip the camera screen anymore. So, let's see. Come on. Yeah, it's not going to work. But what I'm going to try to do, I guess, is then just face the camera the opposite way and hope that it looks good. So let me go ahead and see if I can mount this thing. I don't think I'll be able to. I'll mount it this way, the way I normally would, and then just face the screen in the opposite. Wait, is that blocking the camera? It is. What about that? No, that still blocks the camera. And that? Nope, that works. Okay. Alright, so I will do that. Yeah, Pookie Smoochie. Yeah, I hate technology. Everyone calls me a boomer because they're like, oh, Alex, you can't even figure out basic things. But I swear to God, you guys, the technology always just fails around me. I can't flip the screen, so I'm just going to have to turn the camera around and hope that you guys can see me. I have my... Get out of the way. I have my, my live stream on my, computer. So the goal here, if this thing will stand up... Okay, let's see if that works. The live stream is like a few seconds behind. Okay, well, that's just going to have to do. I know that sucks, but it's just going to have to do. So the reason why I got you guys on this live stream is because reading this book for the audiobook that I'm doing is so frustrating. Not only am I constantly having technical issues with this stuff, but also the fact that so someone explained this to me earlier, because I said the writing in this book is really weird. The way that the author sets up the sentences doesn't make sense when you're reading a novel. And this person explained, because they saw a paragraph of it, and they're like, oh, I see what's happening. I believe it was Conrad that explained it. Conrad said that the person who wrote this book likely doesn't write novels. They probably wrote, educational books, stuff that you would get in school. And that makes sense, because that's how this book is written. The way that the sentences are structured are not for entertainment. They're structured almost like it's like a high school history book. It's really weird. And so that makes it so when you try to read it out loud, the sentences don't flow right. They don't sound right. And so I wanted to kind of show you guys how I have so much difficulty when I try to read this, because I have to try to interpret for myself how the author meant for it to sound, even though it was never meant to be read out loud. And so that's the interesting thing. A lot of authors, they write a novel at least close to how a person would normally speak in real life, so it makes a lot of sense. But this author did not do it that way. And then the other thing, too, is you can see that you'll see that a lot of factors go into actually recording an audiobook. the room has to be completely silent. While I would love to have, some fresh air coming into the apartment, all the windows have to be shut so no sound from outside can come in. I don't even have a fan on me. I turn the fan off and everything. So, yeah, I can't do this the way like people would normally, And then, on top of that, I'm not reading from a screen where I have a clear view. I have to read from the corner of my eye because the book has to be right here, not touching the microphone so the microphone doesn't shake or whatever. Yeah, so I have to read this from the corner of my eye, and this particular microphone is a really nice microphone, but you have to speak right into it. You cannot turn your head. If you turn your head an inch, it will not capture the sound as well. So, yeah, I want you guys to see just how frustrating this is, and you'll see some bloopers. I thought about recording bloopers for the final chapter or something, but honestly, I don't feel like it. I just want to get the book over with. I love this book to pieces, but reading it out loud has become one of the most difficult things I've ever done, and I have plenty of experience reading stuff out loud. So it's not my experience. It is just this horrible written book. Okay, so let me see. I have my software on here so I can see where I left off at. I can't see your guys' chat. Oh, wow, YouTube has this new feature on their thing that... I never saw this. Okay. Well, alright, I'll scroll down to here so I can see anybody's comments and stuff. I may not be able to answer your comments, because obviously I'm going to be reading this book, but this is going to be probably one of the funniest, or probably most frustrating things you've ever seen. So let's see, where did I leave off at? Okay. So it's licensed thing by the British. Whoa, that's loud. Okay. So I have to be like right in front of the microphone to get good audio. So let's see, where was I? Where? See, this is I go through this all the time too. I try to find where I last left off, and I'm like, where is it? Okay, here we go. Prepare to let the frustration unfold. Lee, as chief operator, was assisted in responding to the flood of calls from all over the world by 4 other radio operators, Ray and Gene Harder, Walt Barnes, and Buzz Reeves. The Queen's stopover in Chile was short. At 6 p.m., November 24th, Chief Officer George R. Carter received the command from the bridge to heave anchor. Already. Not even a minute in. It's got to be redone. Let's see, how far did I get? Okay. So I can cut after that section there. Start from this one. Okay. What is that? Okay. Everything coming from bridge to heave anchor. Okay. See, because I have to read this from the corner of my eye while facing the microphone, so it's really hard to do this. Let's see. The Queen's stopover in Chile was short. At 6 p.m., November 24th, Chief Officer George R. Carter received the command from the bridge to heave anchor. A Chilean tugboat sounded its horn, and the Queen Mary's low, mournful wail started a chain reaction of... I was hoping there would be a break in the sentence so that way I could turn the page, but I guess not. See, I can't capture the sound of turning the page, so I have to do it in a way that you can't hear me turning the page around. So let's see. Where did that sentence start? All right, let's see here. Cut that. Left off it. Okay. So now the way I'm going to do this is the last sentence of the previous page. I have to read that and then quietly turn the book over, because I don't know if you can see, but I did it in such a way that I have this page just floating in midair like that. so I can just kind of like turn my arm and try to read the ending of the sentence. Actually, the ending of the sentence is right there. Harbor horn blowing. If I can just memorize that, then. All right. Harbor horn blowing. Okay. A Chilean tugboat sounded its horn, and the Queen Mary's low, mournful wail started a chain reaction of harbor... What? Okay, see, I already screwed that up. Chain reaction of harbor horn blowing. Oh, harbor horn blowing. Okay. All right, okay. A Chilean tugboat sounded its horn, and the Queen Mary's low, mournful wail started a chain reaction of harbor horn blowing. Okay. Cut that part off. Flip the page. Let's try this. Merchant ships from Germany, Japan, and the Netherlands set off a competition of deafening sounds. The Chilean Navy cruiser Captain Black, the old U.S. Navy cruiser USS Nashville, fired up 2 boilers to produce enough steam for one continuous horn blast. The Navy Yard sirens squalled, and then the city's factory whistles blew. What a thrilling moment, Dr. Lester Lowe, a Desert Hot Springs, Californian physician, and former national... Okay, I have to re-record that again. So that sentence was... Chilean Navy Cruise Captain Black, the old U.S. Navy cruiser U.S. Okay. What a thrilling moment, Dr. Lester Lowe, a Desert Hot Springs, California physician and former national commander of the U.S. Power Squadron, said to Jim Stoddard as the two watched from Mary's open deck. See, that to me is a really long sentence. That takes up a whole paragraph without a single period or full stop, depending on where you're from. Not a single stop in there. A whole paragraph. It's ridiculous. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Got to start from there. Cut that out. Where are we? Okay. What a thrilling moment, Dr. Lester Lowe, a Desert Hot Springs, California physician and former national commander of the U.S. Power Squadron, said to Jim Stoddard as the two watched from the Mary's open deck. This beats the hell out of Southampton's farewell, added Stoddard. I don't think I'll live to see anything like this again, Dr. Lowe said as the ship slipped away from Valparaiso's... Ran out of breath. Okay. That's what happens when these sentences are so long and there's no commas to show where to take a pause. Okay, I can start from there. I used to try to record it one paragraph at a time before having to stop and do another recording. But I've learned with this book, I'll never get through a whole paragraph unscathed. I will just have to record it sentence by sentence. Which is ridiculous because, with anything else, I could read several paragraphs, before I have to actually stop the recording to make a correction or re-record something. But with this book, it's literally sentence by sentence. I have to stop at the end of every sentence because there's something wrong, or I can't continue on in the next sentence because the next sentence has to be dealt with. It's ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Where was this one? Okay, added something. That one. Cut. Okay. And it's hard. I don't have enough light. It's like really hard to see this book because this light is... All right, let's see. I don't think I'll live to see anything like this again, Dr. Lowe said as the ship slipped away from Valparaiso's farewell. He saw farewells in all the Pacific ports, perhaps not as noisy, but as warm. But it was Dr. Lowe's last voyage. He died of a heart attack in April 1968. The Queen sailed from Chile up the coast to... Here's another example. A city I have to Google because I don't know how to pronounce that. Oh, God. Here we go. How do we spell that? Callao. That might be Callao? I don't want to... Here we go. Callao. Peru. Okay. No available pronunciation, so let me type in pronunciation. Really? Wow. It's Callao. It's actually pronounced Callow. Who would have thunk? Callow. Really? Wow. Well, that totally took me by surprise. Uh-oh. Where's... No. Wait, I could have sworn I was just watching my own live stream. I think I accidentally moved out of the live stream. All right. Okay. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I had a great Christmas. Pacific says how painful it is to record. It's painful. It's not usually this painful with my own stuff or reading somebody else's stuff. But this book in particular is like one of the most painful books I've ever had to read. And that's why it's taken me so long to get through all these chapters, is because literally it takes a whole day to read just a chapter out loud. I read this whole book when I first bought it in my mind, and I read it, I think over the course of 3 days. Not a problem, because when I run into things like Callao, Peru, in my head, it's just like Callao or whatever, and I drop the subject entirely, and I just keep going. But because I'm reading this out loud, I can't afford to drop the subject. I have to pronounce the name correctly. So I have to, stop and then Google, and it's just this thing that, takes forever. Let's see. Okay, so now let's continue on. Okay. Queen sailed from Chile. Callao. Okay. The Queen sailed from Chile up the coast to Callao, Peru, a port city built on reclaimed mudflats to serve the capital, Lima. The anchor detailed, not retailed. The anchor retailed? No, anchor detailed. Okay, we'll start from there. Normally I would re-record that whole sentence, but I know I won't get through it again perfectly, so I'll just have to start from the next sentence. The anchor detail trained to drop the... Oh, I got lost. The anchor detail trained to drop the ship's anchor. It was frozen and refused to budge. Chief Officer Carter had the ship swing about and dropped the starboard anchor. The ship, her schedule altered twice because she was falling behind while unable to make 22 knots, was in Peru only 34 hours. The Peruvian craftsmen were going to make the best of her shortened stay. They spread their wares on the grass at the... I'll stop that one again. Oh, darn, I wasn't perfectly facing the microphone when I recorded that. Oh, it wasn't that bad. I can go over it again. Okay. Start from there. The Peruvian craftsmen were going to make the best of her shortened stay. They spread their wares in the grass at the Park Harbor entrance and greeted the incoming passengers with handfuls of llama slippers alpaca rugs, and stuffed furry toy animals. Okay. 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 The Peruvian craftsmen were going to make the best of her shortened stay. They spread their wares on the grass at the park harbor entrance and greeted the incoming passengers with handfuls of llama slippers, alpaca rugs, and stuffed furry toy animals. The passengers brought them by the armloads, all to the dismay of Lawrence Stroud, the ship's sanitary officer. Stroud feared the furry things were infested with lice, fleas, ticks, and bedbugs. If the vermin were not alive, Stroud thought, the goods were probably filled with vermin eggs, which would probably hatch when the Mary got back into tropic waters while crossing the equator a second time. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, I can start from there. Okay. If the vermin were not alive, Stroud thought, the goods would probably be filled with vermin eggs, which would probably hatch when the Mary got back into tropic waters while crossing the equator a second time. At sailing time, November 28th, Second Officer Alastair Watt was worried about more than Peruvian bugs. Okay, redo that one. So sometimes I can't see because I'm looking all the way to my left at the corner of my eye because I can't turn my head to face it. So sometimes I read a word and I'm like, that doesn't look like the word. It doesn't look like the word I thought I read. Okay. Okay. At sailing time, November 28th, Second Officer Alastair Watt was worried about more than Peruvian bugs. He had pleaded for nearly an hour for Peruvian sightseers to leave the ship. He didn't speak Spanish, and apparently his pleadings were so much English to the Peruvians. That was a weird... What? And apparently his pleadings were so much English to the Peruvians. He didn't speak Spanish, and apparently his pleadings were so much English to the Peruvians. It makes sense, but it doesn't sound right. Ugh, and the recording was not loud enough. Okay, I'm going to record that last part. He didn't speak Spanish, and apparently his pleadings were so much English to the Peruvians. Chief Master-at-Arms Durston, who had a running battle with Watt, chuckled at the officer's pleading. "The bloke should learn to cuss in Spanish," Durston said. "He's yelling at me because I told him somebody should have stopped the visitors before they got on board. Let's take them all to Long Beach. That'll serve them right." Harry Taylor, the ship's night shift printer, made the mistake of giving a Peruvian sailor a menu cover with the Queen Mary's picture on it. Taylor looked up from the stone where he was putting together the ship's daily newspaper, Ocean Bulletin, and I found Peruvian standing 10 deep to get one of those flaming menus. Taylor shooed them out and locked the print shop door. That was one of those sentences where... See, it might sound just fine to you guys, because while I'm reading this, I'm interpreting how it should sound based off of what cues I have. But sometimes after I finish reading a paragraph, I'm like, that paragraph didn't sound right. Harry Taylor, the ship's night shift printer, made the mistake of giving a Peruvian sailor a menu cover with the Queen Mary's picture on it. Taylor looked up from the stone where he was putting together the ship's daily newspaper, Ocean Bulletin, and I found Peruvian standing 10 deep to get one of those flaming menus. Taylor shooed them out and locked the print shop door. Okay, I'm going to re-record that paragraph. It didn't flow right when I read it, so... No, I gotta go further. Okay, there we go. At least I read through it once, so I shouldn't have any problems pronouncing anything. Let's see. Sheridan says, was that book written by a British author? It might be another reason you're having trouble reading it out loud. No, the author was American. It was American, but as someone else had explained, he probably normally wrote educational books and not novels like this is. So there's a different writing style, and with an educational book, you're not worried about how it sounds out loud or anything like that. It's very I don't know the words, but like with an educational book, let's say talking about, I don't know, history, like a high school history book, for instance. The way sentences are structured, they will list things in a very specific way that you wouldn't say out loud. But with a novel, if you need to list something with commas, you list it in such a way that does sound natural when you're speaking, because that's what a novel is. It's a person speaking to somebody, the reader perhaps, or maybe even to another character. So it has to sound right when you're writing a novel. But with those history books, they don't have to sound like that. They have to sound informative. And so that's what this book is like. It's like trying to read a novel, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird. So if you've ever like read a history book out loud, again, like a high school history book, the sentences don't flow right. Kind of sounds weird. It sounds kind of like it's droning on and on. And that's just because it's just because what I was just saying earlier. But novels have to flow right when you speak them out loud. They have to sound like they're coming from a human. So this book doesn't always sound like that. And I have to interpret it that way, so that way when people read the audio, or when people hear the audiobook, it sounds like it makes sense. So it's kind of difficult in that way. Where did I leave off at? Okay. Cool. Okay, I stopped at the... Okay, we'll read that paragraph again. Harry Taylor, the ship's night shift printer, made the mistake of giving a Peruvian sailor a menu cover with the Queen Mary's picture on it. Taylor looked up from the stone where he was putting together the ship's daily newspaper, Ocean Bulletin, and, I found Peruvians standing 10 deep to get one of those flaming menus. Taylor shooed them out and locked the print shop door. With the help of some Spanish-speaking passengers, Watt was finally able to convince the Peruvians the ship was sailing. The Queen was headed for Panama. In the cool Humboldt current, schools of dolphins played across the Mary's bow. The ship crossed the Pacific side equator. I paused in between that. Let's see. Okay, that wasn't bad. I just did one sentence. I can read that again. Okay. Here's the... Bring that closer to my face. The ship crossed the Pacific side equator at 12:57 p.m., November 30th, and the passengers earned a rare honor. They were now double shellbackers and Cape Horners. Mayor Wade became ill with laryngitis and was confined to his main deck stateroom. Gotta read that again. Try that again. Mayor Wade became ill with laryngitis and was in... This thing is in my way, so I can't see the sentence. Jeez. Let's try that again. Like, the thing that holds up this thing is in my way, so I kind of have to read around it because I can't see. All right. Let's see. Okay. Mayor Wade became ill with laryngitis and was confined to his main deck stateroom. He was asleep when his wife, Mary, awakened him and whispered that someone was prowling around the cabin. I can't see the sentence. I haven't had this trouble before. How did I get around it? Let's try it again. Mayor Wade became ill with laryngitis and was confined to his main deck stateroom. He was asleep when his wife, Mary, awakened him and whispered that someone was prowling around the cabin. Okay, so this is one of those sentences that throws me off. When you write a novel, if you're going to say, it sounds the way I just read it to you, right? Where is it? His wife, Mary, awakened him. Well, no, that is correct. No, never mind. My point isn't made. Never mind. Okay. Let's try that again. Mayor Wade became ill with laryngitis and was confined to his main deck stateroom. He was asleep when his wife Mary awakened him and whispered that someone was prowling around the cabin. Wade, barely able to speak in a whisper, rang for his steward. When the steward knocked, Wade turned on the lights. Okay, let's try that again. When the steward knocked, Wade turned on the lights. A seagull fluttered about the cabin. It took the three of them to capture the bird and put it out the porthole. Try that again. When the steward knocked, Wade turned on the lights. A seagull fluttered about the cabin. It took the three of them to capture the bird and put it out the porthole, apparently the way he came in. Wade sighed. I hope it wasn't an albatross. When Captain Jones heard of the gull incident, he commented, In all my years at sea, it is the first time I've heard of a seagull going into the ship through a porthole, especially while the ship is moving. The gull wasn't the only bird aboard. Oh, read that weird. Okay. The gull wasn't the only bird aboard. Chief Boatswain Edgerton had found a bird nesting in the rope locker on the sports deck, soon after the ship sailed from Las Palmas. Oh, that's not a period. Okay. That was a comma. So, because I'm reading it off the corner of my eye, so sometimes I can't see if that's a period or a comma. Let's see. The gull wasn't the only bird aboard. Chief Boatswain Edgerton had found a bird nesting in the rope locker on the sports deck, soon after the ship sailed from Las Palmas. The bird remained there until the ship reached Chile. Then, she and two fledglings flew out into a strange country, thousands of miles from the Canary Islands. I love when the sentences end at the bottom of the page, because then I don't have to try to flip between two pages to read. You know what I mean? Like, so it's wonderful, because then I can just flip the page, stop the recording, flip the page, then continue on. All right. How long have we been on this live stream so far? I can't tell. How many people are watching? 18. It's not bad. Okay. Jeez. Okay. Birds weren't the only unusual thing on the Queen Mary. For the first time in all her luxury years, the Queen was serving her passengers in paper and plastic cups purchased in Valparaiso to replenish the broken supply. One veteran, Cunard waiter, was moved to say, "I'll walk off this ship before I'll serve something in a paper container." Paddy Burke, a dining room steward from Galway, Ireland, needled. Jeez. Paddy Burke, a dining room steward from Galway, Ireland, needled him with. Jeez. That's my fault. I screwed up that sentence. Paddy Burke, a dining room steward from Galway, Ireland, needled him with, "Listen, before we're in Long Beach, the dinners will be served on paper plates." Now, see, I should... Sometimes I choose to read the paragraph before I go into it, because sometimes it has to sound a certain way. That's one of those paragraphs I probably should have read before I... Okay, Paddy Burke, a dining room steward from Galway, Ireland, needled him with, "Listen, before we're in Long Beach, the dinners will be served on paper plates." No, that's got to sound different. It's got to sound sarcastic. Let's see. "Listen, before we're in Long Beach, the dinners will be served on paper plates." No. That's one of those moments where I kind of have to guess how she made that sentence sound. Because I don't talk like that. "Listen, before we're in Long Beach, the dinners will be served on paper plates." Before we're in Long Beach, there we go. I found the tone of voice. Okay, here we go. Paddy Burke, a dining room steward from Galway, Ireland, needled him with, "Listen, before we're in Long Beach, the dinners will be served on paper plates." As the Queen moved closer to her own retirement, another bit of opulence was being sent to its Valhalla. The New York Central Railroad ended the run of the famous 20th Century Limited, a train that in the Queen Mary's heyday took the ship's passengers on a red carpet, champagne, and flowers trip inland. Okay, let's see. Okay, cut that out. The New York Central Railroad ended the run of the famous 20th Century Limited, a train that in the Queen Mary's heyday took the ship's passengers on a red carpet, champagne, and flowers trip inland. The old train, like the Queen Mary, was a symbol of the past, operating at a substantial loss in competition with air travel. In Peru, a crewman had climbed the mainmast, 209 feet up, and removed the ship's weather vane. The ship would need that much clearance to get under the Thatcher Ferry Bridge to enter Balboa's harbor. By now, the ship was heating up again, but nothing to compare with the Atlantic side. But the homemade air scoops were protruding from the portholes once again as the Queen entered the 42-foot deep channel lined with red and black buoys that guided... Jeez. That's another sentence that's like a whole paragraph long, so I needed to take a breath somewhere in there, and that was difficult. Okay. I can start from there. But the homemade air scoops were protruding from the portholes again, as the Queen entered the 42-foot deep channel, lined with red and black buoys, that guided ships into Balboa and to the Pacific mouth of the Panama Canal. On the way up the coast, there was a wind gust and I could hear it in the microphone. Have to re-record that. Okay, start from there. Cut that out. Okay. On the way up the coast, Mayor Wade had devised a plan to dress up the ship for Long Beach. He suggested that brushes. I was like, paint bushes? What? Sometimes I make myself laugh. Oh my God. Okay. On the way up the coast, Mayor Wade had devised a plan to dress up the ship for Long Beach. He suggested that paintbrushes be fastened to bamboo poles and that crewmen paint the rust spots black while the ship was underway. The idea was tried, but didn't succeed. The Panama Canal's chief pilot, Captain Irving Hay, a man who guides hundreds of ships in and out of the harbor, came aboard to bring the Mary into Pier 15. It was the first time the ship docked since it left Las Palmas. It was the half tide in the channel, and the ship, low on fuel, and much of restored fresh water used up. Gotta redo that one. Okay. Geschmack. Glad you're enjoying it. I just wanted to show people how frustrating it is sometimes to read this book. It just takes forever. Where was I? Where did I leave off at? Okay, there we go. It was half tide in the channel, and the ship, low on fuel and much of her stored fresh water used up, was riding high. The bridge, spanning the channel and carrying Pan-American highway traffic. That sentence threw me off. Ryan says, I found this book before but didn't buy it. It's a really good book, but, now that I'm recording it for audiobook, you guys will have that, so you don't have to buy the book if you don't want. I know, my friend Steve, he ended up buying the book, but he hasn't had time to read it. So he told me, he's like, once you finish the audiobook, I'll just, listen to that when I'm, driving places and stuff like that. So I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what the audiobook will be for. The bridge, spanning the channel and carrying Pan-American highway traffic, was now in full view. There was a car going by, and I could hear it in the microphone. The bridge, spanning the channel and carrying Pan-American highway traffic, was now in full view. The same optical illusion that occurred in Lisbon when the ship passed under the Salazar Bridge loomed up. Okay. This is one of those sentences that is on both pages, so now I have to see how I'm going to read this. Mrs. Betty Ritter, wife of the Long Beach... Okay, I can do that. Mrs. Betty Ritter, wife of the Long Beach, California newspaper publisher, was standing on the forward decks. "It's not going to make it," she squealed, and covered her face. With only 4 feet to spare, the Queen Mary rode under the bridge to the cheers of both the passengers and the thousands who lined the bridge and rock seawalls. A ship isn't a very exciting sight in the Panama Canal Zone, but this one was. The Queen Mary was the biggest ship ever to visit the Pacific side of the canal. Her length exceeded the lock limit by 19 feet 6 inches, and her 118-foot girth exceeded the canal's width by 8 feet 7 inches. Health Officer Stroud had spent most of his time from Peru to Balboa dusting fur items with a powdered DTT. That didn't come out. All right, let's see. Jay says, hang in there. I'm trying. Let's see. Health Officer Stroud had spent most of his time from Peru to Balboa dusting fur items with a powdered DDT to kill any bugs that might... What? Health Officer Stroud had spent most of his time from Peru to Balboa dusting fur items with a powdered DDT to kill any bugs they might have. Oh, they might... Okay. That threw me off. I was like, reading it like that doesn't make sense. Okay. And there's a siren. Is it getting closer or farther away? Okay, it's going farther away. Okay, I don't hear it anymore. Okay, there we go. If the microphone can hear it, the recording will hear it. Let's see. Right. Runs. I feel so bad. I would be mad too. This is why I was like, I gotta do this. I gotta do this on a live stream or something so people can see. Because I'm like, people would not believe. And can you imagine, you guys, we've been on this live stream for, I don't know. My thing doesn't say. 46 minutes. Wow. We've been on this live stream for 46 minutes. And let me tell you, you guys, I was already 5 minutes into the chapter when I started. So we've done about 6 minutes, 40 seconds worth of reading since I started this live stream. And that was 46 minutes ago. So, as you can see, this is why it takes a long time. Okay, let's try this. I hear traffic going by. Health Officer Stroud had spent most of his time from Peru to Balboa dusting fur items with a powdered DDT to kill any bugs they might have. He was looking forward to the brief stay in Balboa because it would give him a chance to get papers cleared for immigration to the United States before reaching Long Beach. I can hear traffic in the recording. And all my doors and windows are shut, you know. They're sealed as tightly as possible, but, you know, and the windows are insulated too. But even with all that, I can still hear the... Okay. So I got one sentence in the last 5 minutes. All right, let's see here. He was looking forward. Not looking for, he was looking forward. He was looking forward to the brief stay in Balboa because it would give him a chance to get papers cleared for immigration to the United States before reaching Long Beach. He had been promised a job by Bernard J. Great. Okay, what is this name? Cloggerty? Cloferty? Cloggerty. No. Let's Google it. Maybe someone else has this name. What? E-R-T-Y. Oh. No way. It's still around? How do you pronounce that, though? pronunciation. How to say 3 audio pronunciations. Yeah, we'll see what this website says. What? What? I do not understand what that pronunciation is saying. I can't do this, you guys. This pronunciation, I don't think my mouth can move that way. Clowardy? Clahati. This is ridiculous. I do not know how to pronounce this. Cloudery? Pookie Sushi says cloudery. It's okay. The spelling is, where is it? Cloughterty. It's a meatpacking company associated with Farmer John. But I do not, and I'm listening to 3 different types of pronunciation, and I can't. Clouderty. And then this one says Clahety. And then this one sounds like some kind of electro synth voice, and I have no idea how it's saying that. Like, what? This one sounds American. I can't do that. Clouderty. Clouderty. Clouderty? I can't. I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, so Pookie Smooshy says cloudery. Cloudery. Ryan says, try British if he is British. If he's associated with Farmer John, I don't think he's British. Farmer John is very much an American company. Geshmik says, if the company is still in business, find the phone number and call it to hear the pronunciation. Oh, that's too much work for me. That is way too much work. Clouherty. That one, okay, I might be able to say that. Clouherty. Okay, I'm gonna call it Clouherty. Oh, the stuff I have to do for this book. Okay, let's see. Nicholas says, hey Alex, off topic, just got on. Not sure if you got this question yet, but how is the train set coming along? It's going all right. I haven't worked on it since the last time I did an update for you guys because it's been Christmas time, so I haven't had any time to do anything. But yeah, I'm gonna try to read this name now. All right, so where were we at? He had been promised a job by Bernard J. Clouherty, a passenger who owned Farmer John Meat Company. Stroud had planned to visit the U.S. immigration authorities in Balboa. However, as the ship docked, he was searching for a $12 pair of llama slippers. A passenger had left with... Oh, it was one sentence. Okay. However, as the ship docked, he was searching for a $12 pair of llama slippers a passenger had left with him for dusting and had failed to pick up. Someone had stolen them, and the passenger held him responsible. Stroud missed his appointment by the time the ship reached Long Beach. It was too late for him to clear immigration. He was scheduled to return to England on one of the first planes designated to return the crewmen. The ship was in Balboa only overnight. She had to sail on the next half-tide at 2 p.m. December 2nd. The Fort Amador Army Band was on this... Oh, I can't. One. Okay, let's try that. Fort what? Is it? I don't think it's Amador. That sounds way too American. It's got to be like Amador or something. Let's see. Fort Amador or Amador. Fort Door. Pronunciation. You know, what used to be really great about Wikipedia was right after the name of something, the subject, they would have the pronunciation. They don't do that anymore. So now I have to actually like specifically type in pronunciation. Huh. Amador. I think it would be like Amador, but you know, it would. Nope. Amador. But do they speak Spanish in Panama? That's the question. Because here is a Spanish pronunciation. But not all South American countries speak Spanish. Some speak Portuguese. So, do they speak Spanish in Panama? Wait, this one might have English. English Australian, no. English Canada? No. English UK? No. English USA, here we go. Really? You know, this isn't a real pronunciation. This is like just different types of ways that the mouth can move to sound like English. Let's see. Pacific says, I think Panamanians speak Spanish. I thought so. Nick says, hey Alex, I want to thank you for helping me go through rough times with your live streams and amazing content. I'm so glad to be part of this community. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Nick. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Beluga says, what was the greatest ocean liner ever? That would be the RMS Queen Mary. Yes. All the Normandy people are like... Hi, Alex. Off topic, but I just want to ask you if you have some sort of advice for people who are depressed for a long time. I mean, honestly, the first thing you can do is try to get professional help, but other than that, the only advice I would have personally is to find something that you're passionate about and try to follow that as much as you can, no matter how difficult it might be. But the thing is that clinical depression is not something that can be cured with just doing something fun. So all I can say is you would have to get some kind of professional help for it and, you know, build up a system of people that you can talk to and communicate with. And, you know, and then of course, like I said, the minor thing is to find something you're passionate about and follow that, you know. That'll help give you some kind of sense of hope and some kind of sense of direction. But yeah. Geshmik says, I just looked up the official language of Panama, and it is Spanish. Okay, so then I will look up the Spanish pronunciation here. Oh, it's... I have it on mute. I can't hear anything. Aha! It's just like I thought it. Amador. So I gotta say that as best I can. Okay. Okay, all right. The Fort Amador Army Band was on the dock, not on her deck. Let's see. The Fort Amador Army Band was on dock to play the Mary Off with UCLA and USC football songs. Really? Sorry, that sentence just totally surprised me. I was like, what? With UCLA and USC football songs. Well, that is interesting. Go to Panama and hear that. Okay, let's try that sentence again. Sorry, sometimes I read the sentences and I'm like, what? Like that. I've read this book 3 times and sometimes I don't even remember it. But, okay, here we go. The Fort Amador Army Band was on the dock to play the Mary Off with UCLA and USC football songs. As the ship's stern moved away from the pier, the band struck up Now Is the Hour, and then went into a lively rendition of California, Here I Come. And finally, as the tugs moved her away from the docks, the Queen once again heard the sad lowland ire, Auld Lang Syne. The dredge, what? Just look it up. Pretty sure it's Mindy, but I don't know if that's how you say it. Oh, it's Greek. Yeah. Oh, no, that's a company. It's a Greek company, but I just don't feel like it. I'm going to call it Mindy. That's what it looks like. Wait, where is it? Mindey. I'm going to call it Mindy. Doc says, your commitment is so appreciated. We love you, Alex. Thank you so much. I thought this would be hilarious to do this on live stream, because I thought you guys would like find it just absolutely ridiculous. Just the amount of like work that goes. Like every sentence I have to look up something. Okay. Here's a word I can say. Acapulco. I can say that. Geshmik says, you are a MVP, Alex, for getting through this chapter. There are some crazy requirements in this one. I mean, yeah, it is. It's like this with every chapter, though. With every chapter, I go through this, but I do it on my own without your guys' help. Like, did you know, like there was this one chapter where I had to, like, there was this person named B something. I forget her last name. Her first name is B. Well, it's spelled B-E-A, and I always used to think that name was pronounced Bea, as in, like, Bea Arthur, but apparently Bea Arthur's name is not Bea Arthur, it's B. Arthur. So I've been pronouncing it wrong for decades. So I'm like, and I left the mistake in the chapter because I was just like, I'm not going to redo that whole chapter just because I mispronounced one person's name. So, yeah. Nick, good night. See you later. Okay, let's see. Where was I again? Okay. The dredge Mindy pumped the channel's sandy bottom, tooted her whistle as the Queen Mary glided past. Oh, I misread that. I was like, see, that doesn't make sense. The dredge Mindy, pumping the channel's sandy bottom, tooted her whistle as the Queen Mary glided past. The ship-throated Queen's horn answered... Wait, what? The deep-throated Queen's horn. Jeez. I'll just read you that whole thing. Center. The dredge, Mindy, pumping the channel's sandy bottom, tooted her whistle as the Queen Mary glided past. The deep-throated Queen's horn answered echoing off the hills of Quarry Heights. The Queen was underway, headed for her last port of call, Acapulco, Mexico. Long Beach Harbor Public Relations Chief Frank Black was checking over accommodations for 60 newspaper reporters who were to join the ship. That was my fault. I just didn't pay attention to how that sentence was going to turn out. Sometimes I have to read ahead as I'm still reading out loud, so that way I know how the sentence is about to sound. Okay, so after Acapulco. Okay. Long Beach Harbor Public Relations Chief Frank Black was checking over accommodations for 60 newspaper reporters who were to join the ship in Mexico for a 4-day voyage to Long Beach. The only space left on the ship was small. What? Jeez. Okay. My fault again. The only space left on the ship was small inboard cabins on C and D decks. The weather was warm, and the cabins, the press had been assigned. Okay. Start that again. Voyage to Long Beach. See, like I said, one sentence at a time. Here we go. The only space left on the ship was small inboard cabins on C and D decks. The weather was warm, and the cabins the press had been assigned were like ovens, retaining the built-up heat 24 hours a day. Black knew just how brutal the press can be, and he feared the accommodations, coupled with reports from disgruntled passengers, would provide the press with enough bad stories to scuttle the ship. It was a public relations man's nightmare. The Queen Mary arrived at the headland's entrance. Off the headland. Off the headland's entrance. Okay. Read some comments here. Pookie's News. I could never do this without saying all the 4-letter words. Oh, trust me. I cuss like a sailor when I'm not doing these live streams. Before I started this live stream today, I was reading the book and I kept making all these mistakes and I was cussing so much. I was like, oh my god. It is so difficult. Okay, let's see. Fire Alarm Guy says, what is this? This is the audiobook RMS Queen Mary Queen of the Queens. This is how I record the audiobook for you guys. We're on chapter 11, or chapter 10, I'm sorry. There are chapter 10 out of 11 chapters. I'm hoping that chapter 11 will be finished by Friday, so that way the whole book will be done before the new year. Doc says, there are so many titles I wish Alex would read, but watching this makes me realize how much behind-the-scenes drudgery goes into it. We really appreciate it, man. Yes, I know. It is really... But this book is difficult more than other books, to be totally honest. I've read many books out loud before, but this is one of the most difficult books I've ever had to read out loud. But the other thing, too, is that the only reason why I'm reading this book is because the author is no longer alive, the publisher no longer exists. So, it's easy to read this book, and maybe not, land in too much hot water. But if I was reading another book where the author or the publisher was still around, yeah, I would probably land in some hot water. So this is really the only book I can read for you guys where I don't fear any kind of backlash for reading this for you guys. Okay, so where was I again? Okay, ended at nightmare. Public relations man is a nightmare. Where is it? Ah, okay. New paragraph. The Queen arrived off the headland's entrance to the Acapulco Bay. Now I've got to redo that one. The Queen Mary arrived off the headland's entrance to the Acapulco Bay at 9 a.m. December 5th and eased into the bay at 7 knots. She anchored a mile off Colita Beach, Acapulco's famous afternoon beach. As the Queen was letting scope out... What? Alright, what is this sentence? Oh, jeez, where was I? Where is it? Okay, Queen was letting scope out on her anchor. What does that mean? As the Queen was letting scope out on her anchor. Now, here's an example of another thing I come across. I think this is a like a nautical term, letting scope out. As the Queen was letting scope out on her anchor, Billy Baker, a circus horse trainer from Liverpool, England, who had been in Mexico for 3 years traveling with an English circus, stood on the docks watching. He felt like a little bit of England had come to him in Mexico. I saw her being built on the Clyde, he said, but I never dreamed I'd see her so far from England. Oh, yeah. Willem said, it sounds so easy, but I'm not sure even Einstein would be able to read this. Yeah. Hey, Malibu Company. Yeah, this book, there's a lot of typos, too. So, like, there's times where the same person's name is spelled differently multiple times. This book was written in 1968 and published in 1969. It was written on a typewriter, and, you know, it was, yeah, so there wasn't, like, autocorrect and stuff like that. Like, literally, human people had to check for corrections on this, and human people can be, you know, they can miss things sometimes. So yeah, as I'm reading the book, there's, like, typos and stuff, and I have to try to, like, read past it like it's not there. Yeah. Things like that. How many more pages till I'm done? Of this chapter, at least. 1, 2, 3. 3.5. 3.5 pages, then I'm done with this chapter. Geshmik says, have you ever considered doing voiceover work professionally? You have a great voice. It sounds great on videos that you narrate. You know, I would be open to it, but the thing is that that's like becoming an actor. Like, you don't just walk into a production one day and be like, hey, you know, I'm here. You know, you have to, like, get in the business. And I have no idea how to get in the business. Like, no idea at all. So, and then I have to compete with people, and then I might have to go in somewhere. Like, I used to live near LA, so back then it probably would have been easy because there's so many studios there. But, like, I live, you know, up near Portland now. Like, there's no studios up here. Like, who's gonna let me in to do that? So, yeah, I don't think it's gonna be possible. But I mean, then again, I have no idea how the industry works. But yeah, I'm open to doing voiceover work. I just no idea. And the funny thing is that this book doesn't really let me do, like, what all I can do. Like, I can do voices and stuff. Like, you know, like, my family always laughs because I do impressions of different characters and stuff like that, you know. But this book is so just informational and, you know, and stuff. It doesn't allow me my chance to really, like, try to be creative with my voice. But, yeah. Alright, where be the treasure? Okay. Okay. Right there. As the Queen was letting scope out on her anchor, Billy Baker, a circus horse trainer from Liverpool, England, who had been in Mexico for 3 Oh, yeah, Liverpool. For a minute there, I was like, Liverpool's not in England. I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, jeez. Oh, whatever. Okay. As the Queen was letting scope out on her anchor, Billy Baker, a circus horse trainer from Liverpool, England, who had been in Mexico for 3 years traveling with an English circus, stood on the docks watching. He felt like a little bit of England had come to him in Mexico. "I saw her being built on the Clyde," he said, "but I never dreamed I'd see her so far from England." The port, small by comparison to other ports the Queen had called on, had no horns or whistles to greet the ship. That sentence didn't flow right. I'm going to redo that one. Okay. The port, small by comparison to other ports the Queen had called on. My phone is on Do Not Disturb, but I can hear it disturbing. Alright, hold on, everybody. Who is texting me? Nice keyboard. It's an old keyboard. Very old. Funny thing was I replaced it with a better keyboard like a year ago, and then that one broke. So I brought this old one out again, and the old one is still going just fine. The only reason why I replaced the old one is because it didn't make the clicking sounds I like. But yeah. Alright, you guys, I'm gonna call this live stream done because it's been a while, and you can see like what I was trying to tell you all about, like, you know, the issues and stuff like that. So yeah, yeah. Willem, if you have a question, ask it now, because I have to get going. What if a clone of Queen Mary was made? I don't think it would. I don't know. Sorry, SS Normandy. We are leaving the live stream now because we've already been on for like an hour and 17 minutes. But anyway, yeah, you guys got to see just how frustrating it is for me to do this, and you know, so now you get the idea. It's a major. Gishmik says it's a major pain in the fanny is one of the issues you wanted to relay to us. Yes, exactly. It is a major pain in the fanny. But the good news is I'm almost done with chapter 10, and then I have just chapter 11, and then I'll publish, after those two chapters are published, I'll publish a big video with all the chapters in it, so that way if you want to listen to it all at once, then you can. That way you don't have to go from playlist to playlist. But yeah, boy. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.